Eryon was 12 years old, thin, observant, and unusually silent for his age. While other children chased birds or threw stones into the water, he often sat beside his father, watching how carefully he repaired fishing nets or studied the movement of clouds before sailing out. His father, Eryon Hale, believed that the river spoke to those who listened. His mother, Lisa, believed that knowledge could save a soul long before strength ever could. Eryon dreamed of becoming a healer one day, not for glory, not for wealth, but because he hated watching pain without knowing how to stop it. But the world had different plans. The night that changed everything. One evening, the sky darkened too early. The wind arrived suddenly, violent and impatient, bending trees as if they were made of grass. Eryon hesitated before leaving the cabin, tightening his cloak. "I'll be back before midnight," he said, forcing a smile. Eryon stood in the doorway, watching his father disappear into the storm. He never returned. Hours passed. The rain grew heavier, striking the roof like fists. Lisa sat by the fire, her hands trembling, pretending to sew while staring at the door. Eryon noticed the silence between thunder strikes. It felt wrong, unnatural. Near dawn, the door opened. Two men stood there, soaked, pale, unable to meet her eyes. They had found the boat. Broken, empty, trapped between rocks downstream. Lisa collapsed without a sound. That night, something inside Eryon fractured quietly, like ice cracking beneath still water. Loss does not end, it multiplies. Eryon was buried beside the river he loved. The village mourned for a day. Life moved on. But grief does not move forward, it sinks inward. Weeks passed, then months. Food became scarce. Lisa stopped singing. Her laughter vanished. Illness crept in slowly, feeding on exhaustion and sorrow. Eryon watched helplessly as his mother faded. He tried to be strong, tried to believe she would recover. But one cold night, he woke to the sound of her struggling to breathe. She held his hand. "Remember, your mind is your shield," she whispered. Then her hand went still. By morning, Eryon was alone. No one wants a broken child. The village elders spoke in hushed voices. No family stepped forward. Sympathy was easier than responsibility. A decision was made quickly. Eryon would be sent away. The next day, a government worker arrived, a man with tired eyes and no patience for grief. Eryon didn't resist. He didn't cry. He simply followed, watching his home disappear behind a curtain of rain. Hours later, the car stopped in front of a gray concrete building surrounded by rusted gates. "This is where you belong now," the man said. It didn't look like a home. It looked like a warning. The orphanage. The Blackridge Children's Facility smelled of disinfectant and despair. Narrow corridors echoed with whispers and quiet cruelty. The adults were distant. The children were worse. Weakness was noticed immediately. On his first night, Eryon lost his blanket. On his second night, his shoes. By the third night, he learned the first rule of the place. No one protects you. Either you adapt, or you disappear. Eryon chose something else. He observed the forgotten library. At the far end of the building, behind a broken door no one bothered to open, he found it, a neglected library filled with dust-covered books. Old medical texts, psychology manuals, encyclopedias missing pages. To others, they were useless. To Eryon, they were weapons. He began reading obsessively. Late nights, early mornings, every spare moment. He learned how fear worked, how authority was built, how confidence could shape reality. While others fought with fists, Eryon sharpened his mind, becoming untouchable. The bullies noticed the change. Eryon didn't fight them. He unsettled them. He remembered secrets, spoke calmly, predicted reactions, planted doubt. Soon, no one dared cross him, not because he was strong, but because they didn't understand him. Respect followed, then silence. The opportunity. One winter morning, a notice was posted. A scholarship exam. One chance for gifted orphans to attend an elite academy. The test was brutal. Failure meant nothing. Success meant freedom. Eryon prepared alone. The night before the exam, his notes vanished. Stolen. But panic never came. Because Eryon understood something others didn't. Knowledge isn't paper. It lives in the mind. He passed. He was the only one. A new world, same war. The academy was beautiful. Clean. Cold. Students came from wealthy families. Famous names. Powerful bloodlines. Eryon had none of that. He had discipline. Mockery followed. Rivalries formed. One student, Julian Cross, tried to humiliate him publicly. Eryon responded with excellence. Scores. Performance. Precision. Silence again followed. The moment that defined him. During a hospital training rotation, chaos erupted. A patient collapsed. No senior doctor in sight. Fear froze everyone. Except Eryon. He stepped forward, took control, applied everything he had learned. Books, experience, instinct. The patient survived. That night, a senior physician asked him quietly, "Where did you learn to stay calm like that?" Eryon answered simply, "From losing everything." Coming full circle. Years later, Dr. Eryon Hale returned to Blackridge. Not as a child, as a healer. Children gathered around him, curious, broken, hopeful. One boy whispered, "I want to be a doctor, but I'm just an orphan." Eryon smiled. "So was I." Eryon Hale thought leaving the orphanage would feel like freedom. It didn't. Standing inside the gates of Northvale Academy, he realized that escape did not mean arrival. It only meant entering a new battlefield, one where fists were replaced by words, smiles hid contempt, and failure was far more expensive. The buildings were vast, clean, and intimidating. Students moved in confident groups, laughing easily, carrying themselves as if the world had already promised them success. Their clothes were tailored. Their books were new. Their futures were assumed. Eryon owned nothing but a single suitcase and a sharpened mind. From the first week, he understood the unspoken truth. He did not belong here, at least not in their eyes. Invisible walls. No one openly insulted him. They didn't need to. Whispers followed him through corridors. Conversations stopped when he entered rooms. Group projects mysteriously filled before he could join. He was tolerated, not welcomed. One evening, while studying alone in the library, a voice interrupted him. "You're wasting your time." Eryon looked up to see Julian Cross, top student, son of a renowned surgeon, admired by professors and feared by classmates. "People like you don't last here," Julian continued calmly. "This place is built for legacies." Eryon closed his book slowly. "Then it's fortunate," he replied, "that knowledge doesn't recognize bloodlines." Julian smiled, but his eyes hardened. That was the beginning of the war. Pressure without mercy. The coursework intensified. Exams were brutal. Mistakes were remembered. Julian made sure Eryon felt every ounce of pressure, questioning his answers publicly, challenging his credibility, subtly planting doubt in professors' minds. Sleep became a luxury. Failure felt close. But Eryon had lived in places far harsher than this. He organized his days with surgical precision. He studied not only medicine, but people, professors' habits, exam patterns, expectations. While others relied on reputation, Eryon relied on preparation. Slowly, undeniably, his results rose. Top scores, perfect evaluations. Silence replaced mockery. The night of collapse. During his third year, disaster struck. A late-night emergency rotation turned chaotic when multiple patients arrived after a highway accident. The supervising doctor was delayed. Panic spread. Students froze. Eryon didn't. He assessed injuries, prioritized cases, directed nurses with quiet authority far beyond his years. One patient, a young woman with internal bleeding, began to fade rapidly. Eryon made the call no one else dared to make. He saved her life. When the supervising doctor finally arrived, he found the crisis already controlled. "Who took charge?" he demanded. Every eye turned to Eryon. That night, everything changed. Recognition has a price. Praise followed. Opportunities opened. Invitations arrived. Julian Cross watched it all unfold in silence. Weeks later, during a critical evaluation, Julian attempted one final strike, accusing Eryon of misconduct, questioning his qualifications, implying favoritism. The board investigated. They found nothing, not a single flaw. Julian's reputation cracked. Eryon solidified, becoming what he once needed. Years passed. Graduation came quietly. Dr. Eryon Hale accepted a position at a major hospital, quickly earning respect not through arrogance, but competence. He treated patients others avoided. He stayed late. He listened. He never forgot hunger, or cold floors, or nights without blankets. One afternoon, a letter arrived. From Blackridge. The orphanage was closing due to lack of funding. Eryon didn't hesitate. Returned to the beginning. When he walked through those rusted gates again, the smell was the same. The walls were the same. The children were the same. Lost, guarded, watching him carefully. He spoke to them, not as a doctor, not as a hero, but as one of them. I came from here, he said softly. And this place did not decide my ending. A small boy raised his hand. Is it really possible to leave? Eryon knelt in front of him. It's possible to rise. The legacy. Eryon funded scholarships, built a new library, mentored children personally. He didn't erase the orphanage's pain. He transformed its purpose. Years later, Northvale Academy would list him among its most distinguished alumni. But that never mattered to him. What mattered was this. The boy the world tried to break had become the man who taught others how not to bend. Final words. Perfect ending for YouTube. You are not defined by where you start. You are defined by what you refuse to surrender. And sometimes, the mind is stronger than fate itself. Don't forget to subscribe and press like.